Titans Talk on the air on this Monday night here on News Channel 5. Plus, thanks for joining us. Titans a 25-16 loser to the Vikings in the season opener yesterday. I want to hear from you guys. What did you think after all of the talk of the offseason and John Robinson and Mike Mularkey changing this team? 23 new faces, the new exotic smash mouth, so to speak, the physical style that they were going to play, the 3 wins in the preseason. So much was trending up. It was even trending up in the first half yesterday. And then it fell apart with those 3 turnovers. 2 of them returned for touchdowns. So as Titans fans or football consumers, as you watched yesterday, did it feel like the same old Titans? Or did it just feel like a new team and a new mission, but maybe a game that just slipped away? How discouraged are you by one performance of this new regime, as frustrating as it was in the second half? Phone lines are open. 737-7767 is the number. Let's go to Ed. Ed, good evening. You're next up here on Titans Talk.
Hey, it's Eric.
Eric.
But,
sorry about that.
You're fine. I appreciate you taking my call. I just want to say, I think anybody out there who thinks that this is the same Titans we've seen the last couple of years needs to chill out, wait a couple more games. I think it's way too early to make that drastic of a decision. We saw a lot of great things from our defense yesterday, which I think is only going to improve with this loss, because I think, with us getting that first loss instead of trending as we have the last couple of years with the first game being a win, I think this is going to put an early fire under everybody's rears, and they're going to be more motivated, less of first game wearies, first game fright, and I think they're going to go out there with a mission against Detroit, and I think you're going to see a completely different Marcus Mariota come game 2.
That's certainly a hope for the Titans. And frankly, if you look back yesterday, Eric, I thought Marcus Mariota played a really good football game until the pick 6. And then he got a little bit rattled after making what was an ill-advised play. Up till that point, he had avoided the critical mistakes. He'd thrown the ball away when pressure came. He scrambled when he needed to. That was a play, of course, he'd love to have back. But that's the thing. In the NFL, games come down to 1 or 2 plays. And when the 1 or 2 play is a catastrophic mistake, it makes it difficult to swallow. And he certainly took it tough after the game yesterday. A lot of the Titans players having to kind of pick him back up to get going. He'll be fine. I think he is a legit big-time quarterback in this league. But remember, he's just moving into his second season as a starter. There will be some ups and downs there. And I think you're right. One of the big positives from yesterday was the play of the defense. So much talk about the offense in the preseason. There was some concerns about the defense. Remember, they couldn't stop people on the opening drives. They got 3 and out yesterday. They couldn't defend in the secondary. The coverage was fairly tight yesterday. If there's a concern, it's the fact they actually didn't get home against Sean Hill, although the Vikings backs protected a lot to keep him safe. And the fact that they couldn't create turnovers. In a game where turnovers were the story, the Vikings got 3 of them. Whether you say they forced them or the Titans just coughed them away, but the Titans themselves were unable to force any to try to change the momentum back. That's something that they understand. They work on all the time, and they've got to fix moving forward. Let's go to Priscilla. Priscilla, good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
That's good. I just wanted to say that I'm not discouraged at all with the Titans. I've watched Titans for years, and this team has improved a lot. And DeMarco Murray and Henry, I'm so happy that we got a good running game. And the defense is good. They stopped the the Vikings yesterday, and they couldn't get nowhere. And our numbers are pretty high too on Mariota. And I haven't seen a quarterback be able to run like him, and he knows he's smart. It's going to take him a while, but I want the Titans fans to hang in there and be behind this team and not give up on the first game. We've lost. We won the first game the last few seasons, and then the rest of the season didn't go very well. So I think that we'll do pretty good this season. Just don't give up on them, because they're working as hard as they can, and we're going to have a good team this year.
Priscilla, thank you. I think you hit on it there. the last couple of seasons, we've obviously seen that one game doesn't make a season, because if one game made a season, the Titans would have been in the playoffs. They would have been division champs and headed to the Super Bowl based off of their performances at Kansas City and Tampa Bay, and even going back to Pittsburgh the year before that in Mike Munchak's final season as head coach. So this game doesn't mean that it's going to be a dreadful season by any means. I think the one maybe really frustrating thing about yesterday, besides the fact that they were just in it and had a real chance to beat a team that was in the playoffs last year, is the fact that it came at home. So much of the talk of the offseason was giving the fans something to cheer for and be proud of and get back on the bandwagon here. And you had a decent crowd. You were in the mid-60s yesterday at Nissan Stadium. There was excitement early on, and then all of a sudden they threw it away, literally. And I can see why that would be frustrating for some fans, but I think Priscilla's right. I think as a fan base, you have to understand that it's one game, and you got to let these guys get back out there and try to bounce back. It is a new-look team than what we've seen in recent years. We'll see if they can respond better than they have in recent years. Let's go to Karen. Karen, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well, thanks.
Hey, I think we're going to have a really good year. I'm really excited. One game, as you were just talking about, does not define a season. If this were a football game, we wouldn't even be halfway through the first quarter. So I'm really excited. It's mainly because of our defense. I think our defense is outstanding, and I'm really, really looking forward to the rest of the year. I really think we're going to win at least 9 games. I think we're probably going to be 9-7, but hopefully we'll win more than that. We might even, make it to the playoffs. But I'm not discouraged at all. I understand. I watched the whole game. I was disappointed, but it's one game, and I'm glad it happened when it did, because a lot of times it's not how you start, but it's how you finish.
Yeah, that's true. You always hear, Karen, coaches talk about how the biggest improvement generally comes from game 1 to game 2. You throw the blueprint out there, so to speak. Remember, first few plays yesterday, we saw really for the first time this year, including the preseason, DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry in the backfield together. Now you're talking about a new look for this team. Now you're talking about new things for opponents to scheme up against. So it's very much a work in process, and early in the process for this Titans team as they try to become who they are. And you compare some other teams, you look at the Patriots last night, even without Tom Brady, what they do has been the same for years now. You just plug in new guys, and even Jimmy Garoppolo steps in and performs admirably there. That's not the case here. You're trying to remake yourself from the offseason, from the past several seasons, into something great. And I think we've seen some glimpses of what they can be, but they're far from a finished product, certainly after week 1. So they've got to bounce back. The interesting thing now is you've got a Detroit team that played pretty well yesterday in Indianapolis, getting a win. They throw the ball around a lot. If there is a weakness on this team, it might be in that secondary. So that's a difficult matchup to go up there. And you don't want to start the season 0-2, because that, of course, becomes a bit of a hole to climb out of. Just statistically, I think it's something like 0-2 teams have made the playoffs about 10% of the time in the history of the NFL. So to get onto that season where you're winning 8 or 9 games or pushing for a playoff berth, I think it starts with a good response this weekend in Detroit. Let's go to Hover Around John, is it? Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Yes, this is Hover Around John, and the reason I call myself that is because I left church early for that game. My pastor gave me a ticket. I normally rush home to watch the game, but I was so excited to be able to drive my scooter to the game, and I was excited. I predicted to win 7 to 9 games this year. But in that game, did you happen to notice that all of our opponents' fans had on a jersey that said 28? And we focused in on Adrian Peterson so tough that we contained him. But somewhere along the way, we dropped the ball. And I wouldn't change anything about the way we played, because we looked excellent in our execution on defense and offense. I just think that we need to refocus on on how we hold on to that ball. Other than that, we're going to have a great season. I'm not disappointed at all. It's something that we can work on. Sometimes when you lose on the first round, it gives you something to stress for. It's like a hot stove. Your mother may tell you, don't touch that stove, it's hot.
Right.
So I believe after this game that we know that we can't be dropping the ball and that we're going to do good. I just had to say that as a fan, a true ride-or-die fan, and I thank you for allowing me to share that.
Yeah, John, we appreciate the call. I can tell you this from being in the locker room today and around the guys. They haven't lost confidence from the game by any means. If anything, I think they gained some. This is a good Vikings team. You can say what you want about the quarterback position. They're obviously hurting without Teddy Bridgewater in there. But that is a good offensive line. Adrian Peterson led the NFL in rushing last year. That's a really good defense with a defensive-minded head coach in Mike Zimmer. And normally pretty good special teams, although Blair Walsh had kind of an adventure yesterday. That's a good football team. That's a team that should have won a playoff game last year against Seattle, speaking of Blair Walsh. And the Titans took it to them in aspects yesterday. The defense totally dominant in physical nature. The offense was able to run the ball at times against a good front line then. They were able to convert passes against the Vikings in some critical moments. They just made the mistakes. And I think that was the thing you could tell, is this seemed like a team today in the locker room that said, all right, we can do this. We can play with a team that was in the playoffs last year. We are just as good. But you know what we cannot do? We cannot turn the ball over. We've got to make sure that we are secure with the football. And defensively, we had to figure out a way to come up with some of these on our own. So to me, it was a team that said, look, for the vast majority of the 60 or 70 plays in this football game, we were the better team on the field. We just made a few critical errors. If we can go back and clean that up, then the majority of those plays really matter. And if that's the case, we win the game yesterday, and we'll win these games moving forward. So I think even though it's a frustrating loss because it was a game that you had right there for the taking, I think there's also a lot of positives that the Titans took out of this game as they move forward. Let's go to Mike. Mike, hello. Hello, Mike. Mike, are you there with me? All right, we will try to put Mike on hold, see if we can get him back. How about Danny? Let's try Danny. How are you?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hey, we got a great team, and Marcus did great until he got sacked a couple of times, and then he kind of got the deer in the headlights look because it really doesn't have quite enough offensive line around him to protect him sometimes. Or old Steve, he really took it. He took a beating and he, licking and kept on ticking. But everybody likes Steve McNair. I mean, he really took it hard. And kept playing.
Sure. He was obviously very tough back there. I think one thing, and we appreciate the call there, I think one thing about this offensive line is they're another work in progress. They kind of mirror the team. I mean, remember, you had 3 new starters on the offensive line yesterday with Quinn Spain, Ben Jones, Jack Conklin. Those guys are 3 new pieces to this unit. They've done a lot of good things in the preseason, running the football. Those are positives, but they still have to build up some chemistry. They've got to build up who they are moving forward. And there were a couple times yesterday where they made some mistakes. Taylor Lewan had a couple penalties, get beat a couple times for sacks in there. The running game did not produce quite what it wanted. I think it was 64 yards for the game yesterday. They want to be better than that. But I think still this is an offensive line that's much improved. And for the most part, I think Mariota's pretty unflappable in the pocket. Yesterday, the way that went, I think he put so much pressure on himself that when the interception especially happened, I think he got a bit rattled. And then I think they got some pressure on him. I think that continued to hurt his confidence moving forward there in that game, and they just never recovered. You've got to be able to recover in the National Football League when things go against you. It's about adversity. And I think back to actually Butch Jones with Tennessee moving to the Battle of Bristol this weekend. He actually showed his team some clips of pit stops in NASCAR, to stick with the NASCAR thing at Bristol, of what happens when you face adversity. Can a great team come together, figure out what's wrong, and move forward? And I think he was showing them a lot of that based off of the Appalachian State game. Little did he know they'd find themselves down 14-0 in that game as well. But the idea was, look, this is football. It's a long game. It's a long season. Just hang with it. Hang together. Stay close. Be tight-knit, and you'll figure out ways to respond if you're the team that I believe you are. And that's what Tennessee did Saturday night. They fought back from 14-0 down, and they turned a game that they looked, frankly, out of and maybe even disinterested in the first quarter into a game that they dominated moving forward. I use that just as an example in that it is a long year. And yesterday was a game where the Titans coughed it up. They'll tell you that. They literally threw the ball away or fumbled it away. But it's just game one. And they have plenty of time to bounce back. And this year they have the leadership in that room, they believe, where they're going to show the resolve to do that. So now is their opportunity to show that to us over the next several weeks. All right, we got to take a break. We will come back. More of your phone calls. If you're on the line, hang with us. We will get to you right after this. We'll also continue to break this thing down. 737-7767 is the number. Your thoughts on the Titans' season opening loss to the Vikings. Stay tuned. This is Titans Talk on News Channel 5+.